What is up, Hawk fans? I wanted to discuss the Cade McNamara situation. Ultimately, it doesn't matter a ton, as Cade McNamara will like 100% be leaving Iowa. I do think he has an extra COVID year available if he would like to use it, but he is not going to be playing at Iowa. But the whole situation around him is very interesting, and kind of what we've heard about the behind the scenes. I have heard some speculation, but to be honest, I wasn't really paying attention to it too much because I don't really care about the drama behind the scenes. I just want the best players to play, and I have been off the Cade McNamara train for a long time. I mean, probably going back to even the beginning of the season. I did not think that Cade McNamara was, or let me backtrack. I did not think that Kirk Ferentz was justified in starting Cade McNamara. And some of the comments that Kirk Ferentz had said before the season was not making any sense. He basically said that it is totally normal for a quarterback to utilize the first couple of games to work his way back from injury, which is totally false. Okay, that would be understandable if the quarterback was like Jaden Daniels, or Chase Daniels back in the day, or Tim Tebow, or an elite quarterback, because their 80% is better than most college quarterbacks' 100%. Cade McNamara did not show us anything to believe that his 80%, let alone his 100%, was going to be good enough. And that was my argument, was that I don't even think his 100% was sufficient. And you were taking an extreme risk and bet that Cade McNamara, who has been extremely injury prone, would not get injured. And of course, he ended up getting injured again. And by the way, guys, me saying all this stuff, I've said this many times, I don't dislike Cade McNamara. This is just purely from an analysis of what I think is best for the Iowa Hawkeyes to win football games. So I really thought that Iowa, given the defense that they have, given the special teams, and I even said this last year, that what you were getting with Cade McNamara, if you went with somebody else, it wouldn't be so drastically worse to where it wouldn't be worth playing them, because especially if they have super high upside, you're basically getting the same trade-off outside of the high upside from the other players that you don't have with Cade McNamara. And plus, Iowa has a good defense. They have good special teams. They can weather the storm because they've been doing it with Cade McNamara. So anyways, I'm going to read this article here from I got to hold the phone so I can read it, from Hawk Fanatic. Prior to Friday night, Cade McNamara had only been disappointing on the field as an Iowa quarterback. But when he declined to participate in the senior day ceremony that was held just minutes before the start of Iowa's 13-10 come from behind victory. Here, hold on, let me get this situated better. Over Nebraska at Kinnick Stadium, it sent a horrible message and was a slap in the face to a program and to a head coach that have gone out of their way to appease Cade McNamara from an opportunity standpoint and from a financial standpoint. I totally, completely agree with that. And that's why I said, and I've said this for a while now, I think Kirk Ferentz and Iowa as a whole has been way more loyal to Cade McNamara than he deserved. And then this is a quote from Kirk Ferentz. Opt-out is a big term right now, right? Opt-outs. He declined the chance to come out. And another one, of course, is Jermari Harris. He declined the chance to come out, Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz said in his postgame press conference on Saturday. That is strictly up to him. It was his desire, so we're going to honor that. We'll see where it goes from here. Hopefully he is feeling better. And then it goes on to say, as I said last week, he has had a rotten 3 years, so I hope everybody can be empathetic towards that. It was classy for Kirk Ferentz to sympathize with, and this is from Hawk Fanatic, by the way. It was classy for Kirk Ferentz to sympathize with McNamara because it has been a rotten 3 years for McNamara on the football field. McNamara has gone from leading Michigan to the 2021 Big Ten title and to the college playoff that season to now playing behind a walk-on quarterback who hardly had any game experience at this level just a few weeks ago. Or has McNamara been playing behind Jackson Stratton? It's hard to know for sure. I don't think he has been playing behind. I don't think that that's true. I think, based on what I can tell, the Iowa coaching staff was looking for any reason to go back to Cade McNamara. They would have gone back to him for the Maryland game had Cade McNamara, which I'm going to talk about after I'm done reading this article, but they would have gone back to Cade McNamara had he not been so prideful and been willing to play, even though he was benched for Brendan Sullivan. But even still, most of that was just due to him reporting to have a concussion. So, okay, this is just a wild. Some of it doesn't make sense. It's hard to know for sure. The fact that McNamara hasn't been in uniform for a game or has been listed as available for a game since he suffered a concussion against Northwestern on October 26 at Kinnick Stadium might give the impression that Stratton is starting only because McNamara is unavailable due to health issues. The same thing could be said for why Brendan Sullivan started at quarterback against Wisconsin and UCLA, which were the next two games after the Northwestern game. I think there's truth to that. The hard part in trying to understand McNamara's situation is that there is so much uncertainty and hearsay. He was accused of quitting the team 2 weeks ago, but then he released a statement on social media calling it a baseless accusation. There was also a rumor that he walked out of practice last Tuesday, but then returned on Wednesday. The truth is out there somewhere, but it could forever stay hidden because that might be the best option for all parties involved with the truth in this case. McNamara was listed as the starter on the depth chart. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think I think that Iowa should be open and honest about what is going on and let the chips fall where they may. I think that Iowa has been way more loyal to McNamara than they should in a variety of ways. And I think overall the damage hurt. As far as the plus minus goes, I think it's far more minus than it is positive in Iowa's favor. McNamara was listed on the starter the depth chart for the Maryland game. It was cleared to play according to Kirk Ferentz, but as it turns out, Kirk Ferentz misspoke and meant to say that McNamara had been cleared to practice. McNamara's situation is a delicate topic since he did suffer a concussion against Northwestern more than a month ago and hasn't played since. So you certainly don't want to dismiss or minimize the medical concerns because concussions affect people differently. I've been a part of a collegiate program. Yes, concussions can linger longer for some versus others. But that's usually only if you're somebody who has had a ton of concussions already. By the way, the whole testing system for concussions is not completely, but at least partly a crock of nonsense. What they do is when you start, this is what they did for us. It may have changed now. But what they do is they have you, when you first start on the program, they have you take, the medical department has you take a baseline test, like a normal, just not super difficult, not, test in which you get a score on. The problem with that is that you could have a bad day. You could have been sleep deprived. You could have, there's a ton of variables when it's just a one-off test that you're utilizing as your baseline. And the test, actually, now that I think about it, was actually somewhat difficult, more difficult than you would think. And then if you're so inclined, you can purposely fail the test over and over and over again because you know pretty much what your baseline is. So, I don't think it's the most accurate indicator, personally. But that's neither here nor there. McNamara also claims to have suffered an adverse reaction to his concussion, so there are certainly extenuating circumstances. But even with everything that McNamara has experienced from a physical standpoint, he still could have and should have participated in the senior day ceremony with his teammates because he owed them that much. Agreed. Iowa gives McNamara a new home and a new opportunity to keep playing as a Big Ten quarterback after Michigan had so quickly moved on from him early in the 2022 season. McNamara lost the starting position at Michigan to J.J. McCarthy early in the 2022 season, and ever since then, McNamara's football career has spiraled in the wrong direction because he's not a good quarterback. The only reason why he was successful at Michigan is because Michigan is Michigan. They were a national championship caliber football team, okay? McNamara has certainly been unlucky, and he has dealt with more than his share of hardship and adversity that comes from having suffered through 2 straight season-ending knee injuries in 2022 and 2023. But he also has been lucky to have a program and a head coach that welcomed him and then stuck with him for nearly 2 years, despite what have been mostly subpar performances on the field. Perfectly said. Kirk Ferentz wanted McNamara so much that he committed a recruiting violation by contacting McNamara before McNamara had entered the transfer portal in 2022. I totally forgot about that. That's true. Man, that is so true. Man, I forgot about that. That is so true. And I remember when I talked about it, when he did commit the violation, I said, time will tell if it's true, or time will tell if it was worth it. If Cade McNamara comes to Iowa and balls out, it was probably worth it. But if he doesn't, probably not. And it probably won't damage Kirk Ferentz's reputation too much because he has so much like prestige already built, cachet already built. But anyways, Iowa basically rolled out the black and gold carpet for McNamara, set him up with a nice NIL deal, and said, "You're our guy." I'm going to talk about that momentarily too. McNamara has started 13 games over 2 seasons for Iowa, but other than a few quarters and a few halves, his performance has been disappointing. And yet Kirk Ferentz for a few weeks would tell the media that McNamara gave Iowa its best chance of winning. But then McNamara suffered the concussion, and nothing seems to have been the same since. In fairness to McNamara, he apparently has been a good teammate since he has repeatedly been named a captain as a Hawkeye, and that doesn't happen without earning respect and admiration. But that is even more reason why McNamara should have participated in the senior day ceremony. Some will say that McNamara didn't want to get booed, and if that truly is part of why he declined, then that's just a sad ending to a story that started with so much hope and optimism. I don't think he would have been booed. Maybe by like a few, but I don't think he would have been booed. You would also like to think that most Iowa fans would have resisted the urge to boo. I do. I don't think most of them would have booed, just for the sake of decency. Graduate quarterback Jamari Harris didn't play in the final 2 regular season games for what was called a medical issue, but he did participate in the senior day ceremony and seemed to enjoy doing it as he walked onto the field. There is speculation that McNamara, a native of Reno, Nevada, will enter the transfer portal and appeal for a 7th year of eligibility. That is so crazy. Man, the Koof year really threw a wrench into things. Okay, fine. Good luck to him. But even if he has another year of eligibility, he still could have participated in the senior day ceremony. Agreed. To not do so, fair or not, gives the impression that he is self-entitled. It definitely does. McNamara should have put his ego aside and paid his respects to a program, to a head coach, to a group of players and coaches, and to a fan base that gave him a soft landing spot after his crash at Michigan. If McNamara has a good reason for why he didn't participate in the senior day ceremony, then he should share it publicly, and perhaps the narrative would shift more in his favor if it truly is a legitimate reason and not just hurt feelings. For now, though, his decision to skip senior day ceremony just doesn't look good. I totally agree. So a few things that I want to discuss about this is just in general. Let me scroll up. Appealing for a 7th year, him being self-titled. I just want to discuss like what Iowa was willing to do to land him, and just kind of discuss whether it is worth it for Iowa to do it again. And I long told you guys, and a lot of you guys didn't want to believe it, but I long told you guys that the reason why Cade McNamara and Iowa was so loyal to him was because of the NIL situation that they had garnered. And not only that, but you had the recruiting violation. It was hard for Kirk Ferentz to not get a return on his investment. And understandably so, you know. And that is kind of the crux and the issue with NIL in a college era. You know, you don't have, and pro teams go through it too. You know, you don't have this endless amount of money, and you kind of have to bite the bullet when somebody doesn't work out, you know. And Iowa was continuously trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, when it so obviously was not working. And the question is should Iowa go to the transfer portal again, namely this year, and do whatever it takes to get another another solid quarterback? Well, not another, but for next year, another quarterback that happens to be solid. Obviously, Cade McNamara wasn't solid. Now, for what it's worth, I think that most fans thought that Cade would be decent, including myself. But there definitely were reservations. There definitely were people who were saying, no, he's limited throwing the football. There's a reason he didn't work out at Iowa. But to answer the question, I think until Iowa, people saying Lester has done nothing to improve that, yet we have also tripled the amount of yards, 20 possessions or better, and haven't really had a steady quarterback all year. Please learn ball. Until Iowa is able, namely Tim Lester, is able to consistently develop quarterbacks that they get from the high school ranks, then they're going to have to go to the transfer portal. Them landing Cade McNamara was a direct result of their inability to develop and have a play caller that could work within the confines of whatever quarterback they had. The last decent quarterback Iowa had was Nate Stanley. And he was the last quarterback that was developed straight out of high school that worked out. And that was more a result of Ken O'Keefe than Brian Ferentz. And so until Iowa does that, they are going to have to go to the transfer portal. But I do hope that Kirk Ferentz learns from this and learns that he cannot and should not, no matter what sort of money they give to a transfer portal quarterback, cannot and should not endlessly stay on that quarterback and be completely loyal to that quarterback. And it also, Iowa needs to put limitations on what they are willing to spend for a quarterback in the transfer portal. Not necessarily a one-size-fits-all, but kind of a guiding block, as it were, because there's, if you're not aware, as far as NIL goes, there are a lot of deals that are done with a 4 or 5 year term in mind, where you can space the money out and schools can kind of put most of the money on the back end. Not all, but most. The reason why Bryce Underwood ultimately chose Michigan is because Michigan was willing to give him a lot of money up front. And so Iowa can be more strategic when it comes to that and kind of think about what they're willing to spend and what they're not willing to spend. But they will have to go to the transfer portal. I mean, that is just the reality of the situation. They will have to go to the transfer portal moving forward until a high school quarterback is able to be developed, and Iowa has a good, strong room with high school with most of them being quarterbacks that they got out of the high school ranks. One of them was already moved to wide receiver in James Razor. Okay, so the high school quarterbacks that Iowa is going to have as of this point in time is going to be Marco Lainez, Jimmy Sullivan. They will have Ryan Fitzgerald, which is Pat Fitzgerald's son, as a preferred walk-on. And in the future, they might have Cash Herrera out of the state of California if they're able to hold on to him. They have to go to the transfer portal. They just do. Because there's no guarantee that Brendan Sullivan or Stratton are going to stay at Iowa. I think they probably will, but there's no guarantee. They have to go. So Iowa, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. The last thing I want to say is, as far as Cade McNamara goes, I think most of it, if not all of it, had to do with his ego. In this day and age where you have name, image, and likeness, you have a brand, a lot of these players, even quarterbacks like Cade McNamara, who are known as team guys and super good leaders and whatever the case may be, they don't think in terms of the team. They think for themselves and they think for their brand. And that's commonplace. If you think that the players are going to see that and go, I don't think he would make a good captain because he only thinks of himself. No. The players understand. In fact, they think that that's the right mindset to have because they have the exact same mindset. Now, it's not as bad at Iowa as it is at other schools, but it still exists. And to a certain extent, I think it is understandable, but gone are the days where you have these like complete team first players that are always going to do whatever is best for the program and the team. And so I think Cade McNamara thought that it would damage his brand to come out on the senior day and basically seem like he's okay with being the backup and being replaced and this and that. And the thing is that The odd thing is we don't even know that was true. I don't think it is true. I don't think he was officially replaced by these other quarterbacks. He was replaced because he was having mental issues, getting back into mental, physical concussion, getting back to form and playing for Iowa. But Kirk Ferentz was doing everything that they could to find an excuse to get Cade McNamara back in there to start. He would have started in the Maryland game. And so I just, honestly, guys, I do think it's despicable. If my theory is correct, I think it's despicable that Cade McNamara, because he didn't start 2 flipping games, decided to just bail out on Iowa. Now, who knows? Maybe some of it has to do with Cade McNamara just being done with Iowa and the Iowa system and whatever the case may be. But he still chose Iowa. He still accepted the money from Iowa. All of these things, he should have walked out. Now, I don't really care too much in the grand scheme of things whether he walked out or not, but I think that it does indicate where we are in college sports, and I think it indicates where Kirk Ferentz went wrong and why he should not have been so unwaveringly loyal to Cade McNamara. So that's the biggest thing that I wanted to say. The last thing that I want to say, I'm just gonna go ahead and do a 2-part. Well, actually, you know what? I think I may save that for a different video. I mean, I have talked about it a lot already, which is the kicker position. If I decide to do it, I think I'll just do it in another video. So, all right, guys, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think about the Cade McNamara situation. I'm relieved that the Cade McNamara situation is coming to an end. I have a lot of hope with Tim Lester. I still do have some slight reservations, as the pass game was not the best this year, no matter who was in at quarterback. But I think of the two, the run game and the pass game was always going to take a little bit longer to develop, as there's more concept, there's more route trees, there's more schemes. The run game was always going to be the thing that Tim Lester would be able to get down pat sooner. So, and I would always rather the run game be set up and in a good place first than the pass game anyways. But nonetheless, he still does need to get this pass game situated. So I'm relieved. I think both Brennan Sullivan and Jackson Stratton in different ways offer more than Cade McNamara. But bottom line is Iowa does need to go get a quarterback, a legit quarterback that can compete and Tim Lester can develop. I don't care if he's a younger quarterback. I don't care if he's an older quarterback. I think I would lean towards wanting a younger, like freshman, sophomore quarterback that Tim Lester can work with, and there's not as much need or pressure to play him immediately. And you do have Brennan Sullivan and Jackson Stratton that you can win at least some football games with if need be, and kind of use them as bridges if Tim Lester cannot develop either of those two to be sufficient starters. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow and facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. I love you, Hawk fans. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.